that are out there that are viewing me from wherever you're viewing me from. I'm glad you're here. You asked me the question, Derek, about how I kind of got involved in this. Well, during my time when I served in the military, the U.S. military and the Army, and I had a number of accidents and things and traumas that occurred to me during my time there. So I started seeking out alternatives for getting treatments for some of the things that were going on for me. And one of the people that I met during this particular process happened to be a medical intuitive. And I had never heard of it before. So I said, what the heck is a medical intuitive? And she said, well, it's someone who uses their intuition in such a way that they can tune into your energy field, they can tune into your physical. Spiritual healing, massage, acupuncture, all these different things I had a fascination with. So over a period of time, I was fortunate enough that I came across a lot of different types of teachers and met a lot of different people and was able to learn from a lot of good healers and masters at the time that could steer me in the right direction to learn these things. And I just feel blessed that I've been able to do that. And now I've been doing it long enough that I feel I've kind of progressed forward to the point where I'm not as big a mess as I was then. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I think when I first was getting out of the military, I was a complete mess. I had PTSD. I had injuries on different parts of my body. I won't go into every one of them, but let's just say it was hard sometimes to walk. It was sometimes hard to think. It was sometimes hard just to function in a general sense. And I was fortunate in the sense that as I met more and more people that were involved in the alternatives and such as this, that I was able to, in a sense, be in a position to where I could learn things that would help me with my PTSD, that could help me with some of my injuries. There was a number of things I learned along the way that helped me pinpoint where I, as a person, needed to either make changes in my life or lifestyle is another way to put it. And also, what could I do as a person to, in a sense, in learning this, maybe be able to help other veterans or other people be in a position to where if they're having difficulties or problems or for injuries and such as that, that they could seek and get help. And so in doing that, I found it kind of like almost my life mission at that particular point in time to get to know as many people as I could within this alternative sector so that I could be of help to people. And it's been an interesting and wonderful journey for me. I've been involved in a number of organizations that helped me do that. I served as president of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce for a number of years. I was involved in a group and was their vice president for a group called Veterans for Integrative Care. And it was a program to help veterans get integrative type of care to help them with their war injuries and things that happened during their time of military service. And of course, some of it was apropos just to people out there in the world. Didn't have to be just veterans per se. It just, that was one of the areas I was focused on at the time. But I really feel fortunate that in the midst of doing this, I attended a lot of affairs and a lot of events, holistic festivals, holistic fairs, holistic gatherings. They had different terms for them. And it was at a place just like that where I was fortunate enough to meet one of the top medical intuitives in the country, Winifred Adams. And so I guess with that, we can turn it over to her. Is that a good enough introduction?
There you go.
Well, my goodness, how do we follow that? Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, my name is Winifred Adams, and I am a medical intuitive. And I'll tell you how I became a medical intuitive. Thank you, Charles. It's because Charles Lightwalker came to me one day and said, you know what? You're a medical intuitive. I am, what? He said, you're a medical intuitive. I said, what's that? He said, it's what you do. I said, oh, okay. And my whole career took off after that because of Charles pointing out that my skill set since birth was, in fact, what we call today medical intuition. And so, what is medical intuition? It's the ability to scan the biofield of a body accurately and be able to see inside of it, similar to an MRI or an X-ray. And we have the ability to accurately, with diagnostic proof and testing, show that we can see the differentials in a biofield and then bring that into even more accurate knowledge. Though we don't medically diagnose, we are working toward that end at this point in time in the world, that we will be accepted as a modality, that will be recognized as an asset in that way. However, my world started out in healing, and I'll tell you honestly, I kind of follow suit with Charles, although Charles Lightwalker is like the world's greatest networker. He is the gold star of holistic healers and bringing them together. He really is. He has an amazing talent and gift besides his amazing healing gifts. And he is always championing this field, no matter what. And I really owe my career to that. I seriously do. So when I came along into healing, per se, it's because I was naturally interested in it. And as a kid, I would go up to people and put my hand on them. And then after a bit of time, they would feel better. I would either rub the area or didn't even know I was going to a pressure point, because at that point I didn't know anything about pressure points. I was little. But I had a knowing about the body since I was a kid. And then I filled in the gaps as I went along and grew up. And then people would feel better after that. And they'd say, well, what did you do? How did you know that that was bothering me? I said, I don't know. I just can feel it. And when you feel better, I feel better. So it worked out. And then I started out in the biomechanical field of exercise therapy and personal training. And I had people come in that needed body system health training. So I went into the field of body system analysis. I taught for the Trio Light Institute for a while, and I taught everything from pulse analysis to herbology to body system health to eye reading, face reading, tongue reading, you name it. So I kind of have a totality of those basic fields, and all that married together into the cases that came my way. So when people were very, very ill, each case or each person with their illness came in, and it seemed to be harder and harder than the last one. So I would dig deeper into the toolbox, and Spirit would guide me on how to work with these people. And Spirit guided me via the medical intuition in being able to clearly see into that system, and then inherently being able to know how to work with it. And so I was doing healing before I ever had the tag of medical intuitive. But once I did, I was able to break it down and see more clearly the biofield and the quantum atomic structure versus, say, an application of just healing. So that's kind of where it began. And now I see just about everything. I do really difficult cases, like people in life and death situations, or the things that they can't solve. I've done remote bone fusing. I've done remote brain reformatting. I see a lot of cancer cases. I see a lot of different things where people are kind of at their wits' end. And it's emotional, physical, and body system health. So I hope that gives an overview.
It's fantastic, and I think as when Charles first mentioned it, he kind of said to me and Angela, "You're medical intuitives," just like he said to you. And we said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" It's like, and Charles came back and basically explained something similar to what you explained. And what I like about this, and it really, I think, intrigues us all here, is it takes away from the kind of spiritual healer, the psychic type stuff, the the Reiki, it's taking it away and it's putting it into the kind of one, if you know what I mean, Winifred.
Yeah, it kind of takes into consideration the whole of what's going on in the field, and then from there, those other things are ways in which to heal the person. But medical intuition is, for lack of a better word, kind of assessing the field. We can't say diagnose because we're not doctors, but we can say it's an assessment of the field, and how well you assess the field, then you have a more clear avenue on how to heal the field or help assist in the healing. And, Derek, you and Angela have a great thing going on there. You have a beautiful synergy between you, and now among you and your group that you're growing. This is fantastic. And everyone will benefit from more of this work, no doubt.
Yeah. I think, as more people are getting to know, and it shows that the high quality people we've got here, and there's people here that are serious healers, and they're a bit unsure, and this is what the job of Charles and me is to get out there. And once we start the training and the one-day training, Charles, and you want to tell us a bit more about the one-day training that we're bringing in to one-day introduction?
Oh, the introduction to medical intuition, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, this will be a one day, not even a full whole day, of course, but a one-day workshop that will immerse you into the aspect of medical intuition, a deeper understanding of the process and how it works, and in a sense, you might be able to not only have a deeper understanding of it, but realize the possibility that this might be something that you could learn to do efficiently and even at a professional level, like people like myself and Winifred. And I think what's so fascinating about me doing this is the aspects is I think as more people become aware of medical intuition, they will get an idea and realize what an excellent healing tool it is that can help you with the people that come to you that are stuck and that are maybe, as she put it a moment ago, Winifred did, at wit's end of what to do next. A lot of the patients I used to see that were referred to me by medical doctors or chiropractors or acupuncturists, the different types of holistic healthcare professionals, they would come to me because they say, you know what? I've been to 3 experts and nobody's finding out what's going on, but one of them said you might be able to pinpoint this. And that's what I see the job as a medical intuitive is. In a sense, because we can look at the whole picture, we can begin to pinpoint more accurately what's really going on with the person and how we can help them overcome their imbalance, their disturbances, their dysfunctions, or whatever is going on with them, whatever the illness might be, the disease, whatever's going on with them. What is it really at the core level? And where can we then, in a sense, look for the accurate help that can bring that person back to wholeness, back to wellness? That's what I find so fascinating about this. And that's why I've enjoyed working with people like Winifred, because that's what I feel she does. She helps people that are at that point where they've sometimes almost lost hope. But because of the fact of what a medical intuitive can do, they can not only give you hope, but they can lead you down to the road to a true recovery.
That's true. Well said, Charles, because as a matter of fact, so many people that have come along really would say that. I've been here, I've been there, I've been at this for 2 years. I don't have an answer. Can you help me? Is there anything you can see that could help us and even help my doctor? And so many times I will work with people's doctors in their allopathic medicine. So I'll even send them for blood work and things and go back to their doctor saying, hey, I see this. Tell your doctor these things. And let's see if we can't get your doctor to do these diagnostic tests to confirm that, so that we have an avenue of comparison and some more concrete evidence that in fact we're dealing with this. And that helps everybody, to be honest with you. There's a kind of synergy that goes along there. And I feel very confident in the gift I was given and the tutelage I have in the spirit world that walks with me at the time of all this. and helps guide what goes on for the healings, which is using, in my case anyway, the more of the quantum atomic field as I step inside someone's body and begin to work with the restructuring of their energy field for health and healing. Now that's different. That's healing. That's a modality. That's quantum healing. And then medical intuition is being able to look at that accurately and see it for what it is.
Just on I'll put the comment up there. I'll just put this up. Yeah, the comment from one of the people online. In the UK, we tend to medicalise life as a disease process and look for a pill to solve lives. And it's just what you're saying, Winifred. It's kind of there has to be a better way. And I think in the UK with us, and I'll just get the screen right. It's like, I'll get this here. Put that onto that. That's better. It's like in the UK, we tend to. And I was talking to a doctor last week. He says in Glasgow for depression, we just give them pills because there's no other option. But in Murray, we've got wellness practitioners now in the surgery, Derek. And I says that's a lot better. And it's good for us in Murray in Scotland. But probably the people in Glasgow and London who maybe haven't got the health budget for the holistic wellness side. And the money that saves, we're doing a very important job.
It's incredibly important. This is something that was natural way back when. At the time of Egypt, these things, sound and light tuning was a natural resonance rebalancer. And here we are coming back to that space again. And soon, the AI technology, like it or not, is going to advance things quite quickly. We will be seeing the advent of light and sound healing coming in. But those of us that are already working with light and sound and working in the field of healing are sensitive to being able to help people bring their spirit and their spirit light closer into their system. And other people have been conditioned, for so long, like you said, to take a pill, to medicate, to ignore it even. Ignore it until there's a symptom or a problem that's very, very serious and hard to back out of. That's where the heavy lifting comes in. But we have a job to do. And, healing is all love. And when we come into this space of healing, the only thing we need is somebody that's willing. And I say that the person that's coming for the help has to be willing to receive. And if they're willing, we can apply what we know to help them expedite their healing, because the healing will happen from within them, not at them. Even though it feels like it's at them, it'll come from within them as we facilitate. And we should be far and away more valued. Everybody thinks healing is free. And yes, healing is free if you know how to do it. And healing is free if you are all love. But somehow we have trouble over the millennia to shut our brains off. And so connecting to that love source needs a little bit more work.
Yeah. And just on a good question here, Winifred, can you do this remotely? And I know that with remote healing with Reiki and stuff,
yes,
you can, and that's become more advanced as angelic Reiki has taught us as well, become more advanced in that. And I presume you could do this remotely.
The remote healing is 99% of what I do at the moment. COVID made sure of that. Previous to that, I had seen people in California in my office there. Often people coming from all over to see me there physically. COVID changed the game. And now most of what I do is remote healing because it's easier. I can just do it and they are in the comfort of their home and I can transfer that energy. I can look into their systems. You can blindfold me and set me in the closet in the other room and I can still look through their systems. I don't have to see them. I don't have to be on a video with anyone to do it. It's just a matter of feeling their energy field. And oftentimes I feel even through them to their relatives or whomever we're discussing that also have factor into their healing process, whoever it is. But yes, remote healing is a big portion now of what I do with people, and it's very effective, very effective.
We've got Leanne Cameron there, who's saying in West Lothian, it's good to have a wellbeing hub. It's really good. And NHS Lothian are on the ball. And it's good to see in the UK, certain areas are now opening up to the holistic side and the more of a wellbeing outlook. But it's still a lot of it is NHS led, and you have to be qualified in their systems, which is kind of frustrating for someone like me who's qualified not university, but through other ways, you could say, or other educational systems. And I think that's the challenge that we have, because the knowledge that we're learning from is thousands of years old, some of it. And I think, you know,
we get to draw on that.
Yeah. And Charles, let's put you up here. Charles, I think you kind of experienced that living up here, and the kind of the knowledge that we've got in this area alone and holistic healing is very good. But
yes,
it's been ignored in some ways. When you think of the Finturn Foundation that used to be here, and it's been known, but it's kind of getting ignored a little bit.
But I think all this is beginning to change because more people are becoming aware, more people are becoming, in a sense, taking charge maybe more of their own lives, I think, than we used to in that sense. We have to realize that in order to remain healthy, you have to take some action. And I think because of that, more people are starting to become aware that you cannot limit the aspect of what you must do to take care of yourself or the type of practitioners that you might need to see in order to maintain your health or even make it better. And I think that's the great thing. This area seems to be very prone for that in many ways, at least the healers that I've met so far. And I'm feeling really good about that. And I find it quite enjoyable that so many people seems to be along those lines. And I've met a lot of great people because of that. I also think we're at a time in our society with, for one thing, even our technology to a degree, that we're at a point now we can reach out to people more than we used to, and we can help one another, making ourselves realize that if we want to take our health to the next level, we have to take action to do that. And one of those actions can be, as I'm beginning to find out from the clients I'm getting at this time, which is, by the way, all remote at this point, because I live over here, all my clients are remote. I'm not seeing anybody in person at this particular time. The only time I see anybody is like today when I taught a class, because people came here to it. But everything else is all remote. But I'm able to help people no matter where they are. I had a client recently the other day that actually called me from Australia. And so it made me realize, like anything else, it doesn't make a difference if they're in New York, if they're in Australia, if they're in Scotland, if they're in Manchester, if they're in Hong Kong. With the technology that we have, we're now able to communicate with people all over the world. And because of that, and because in healing realms, as I've known, distance does not matter. So we're able to tune into anybody, wherever they are, and do a medical intuitive evaluation that allows a person then to realize, here are the areas within my own physical form, my mental body, my emotional body, and even my spiritual essence of what I can do to better myself, to make myself a stronger, better, more alive person. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this. This allows people to go to someone who can help them have their health on track and keep it that way. That's what I find so fascinating about this. You can keep it this way. I find that friends that have come to me over the years, and I've had some clients now for over 25 years, and they every 6 months have me look at them and see what might be going on in their life from a medical intuitive standpoint. So they keep on top of things. And I will give you some quick examples. There's a lady I know, and she came to me, now this was about a year ago, and I said, well, here's what I'm picking up, that you need to go see the doctor, and you need to look at this area of the body. I says, I'm getting some dark spots. Now, dark spots usually mean a certain thing to me, but I don't like to use that particular C word, if you know what I mean. But the idea was to make her aware that it needed to be checked out. Sure enough, she went to the doctor. They checked it out because they run the diagnostic test they needed to. They spotted it early. She's now not having a problem because it was caught. That's the advantage of a medical intuitive. You can catch things that are forming in your auric and energy field before it becomes totally into the physical form. And because of that, that puts you in a position to be on top of it and to keep yourself healthy over time. I wouldn't say that that doesn't mean you don't have to work at it, because you certainly do. Because once you get an evaluation like this, you have to take action. Yes, there's a question.
I hear what you're saying, Charles. I mean, how you're seeing dark spots and things, but I'm speaking for my clients as well. But if you go to the doctor and you say, well, I've been advised to get this, that, not checked out, and they don't, because they won't believe what we're telling them.
We're already having problems with that. People were getting private bloods done.
Yes, even with other therapists that are coming here and they're doing blood tests and things. So that is what we're up against.
And I'm glad that you tell me that, because you see, in America, of course, where I'm originally from, it's very different there. Normally, if I tell them the things I'm picking up and they go to their doctor, most of the time, and I do say most of the time, the doctor is going to want to appease them, okay, because of whatever medical plan they have, appease them by taking and getting some of these tests. And then once those tests come back to verify there's an accuracy to it, then they have to take action. But yeah, I'm still learning about here, so some of those things might be more difficult to implement here. What my hope is as we create more awareness for people, and we hopefully create more medical intuitives even within our community here, that as people become more aware, we can influence the medical community to realize the value in this. Because in a sense, if you can detect things early rather than later, you're actually going to save money in the long run.
Yeah.
And that's how I think we've begun to make some inroads. At least before I'd left America, we were making inroads because there were some insurance companies that were realizing that if they could do preventative things that prevented having an expensive surgery, because the preventative action they took made it so that wouldn't have to happen, or was at least put off for a longer period of time, it actually saved them money. And I hate to see it get down to money, but of course, in America, a lot of things are built around that aspect. They're built around money. And so if you're saving the insurance company money, they're a lot more interested in listening to it. And it seems to be a strange thing. And the only reason I know that is because one of the things I did before I left there is, in the community I was in, they had a big health forum, and they had a group of experts that came from different segments of the community. And I happened to be fortunate enough to be one of the people that was invited to the event. And I happened to sit next to the assistant insurance commissioner for that state. And so I decided, well, this is an opportunity I can't pass up, because, you know, he works with the insurance commission, so he knows all about insurance. So I asked him about a lot of the things that I had studied and a lot of things that I did. And I asked him, what does the medical insurance industry think of this? Since he's obviously an expert in the field. He says, well, right now we're in the middle of researching a lot of that process. And I said, research, well, what does that mean? He said, well, right now we're looking into a lot of these complementary therapies and holistic therapies that are out there. And we're looking to the aspect of, will they be of value to cut the costs within the medical industry itself? So we are looking at these things. And if they look like they're things that could be cost saving for us, we're interested in them, he says. I says, so how's that going to work within your system? Because I was curious about more. He says, well, I'm going to tell you this. We've researched it at least far enough to the point now that if we start to do some of these things, in order to qualify within the insurance thing, as you probably know, everything has what we call an insurance code. In other words, if you get this service over here, there's a code for it. He says, so we have a code for Reiki. We have a code for shamanism. We have a code for massage. We have a code, and they went on. Anyway, to put it plain, there's a code for a lot of things. I says, well, how come nobody knows this? Is because the codes right now are not implemented. These are what we put codes to, and if the system is approved, we will have the codes in place. And I thought, to be honest, I know this is a horrible word. I thought he was full of bull, because I thought, he's just kidding me, you know what I mean? I says, well, how would I know you're telling me the truth? He says, I'll bring you the list tomorrow. Because the thing was on the next day. The panel wasn't, but the thing was the next day, and he was going to be there, and I was going to be there. He brought me the paper, and I think I still have it somewhere, that shows the code for all these different practices that if once approved through the insurance industry, the way they do it, these will be codes to where you can bill for this service that the insurance company will cover. And the reason is because it'll save them money. That's what he said. And I said, so that's the avenue as I see it, at least in America. If it saves money, I says, what's funny is, I says, you're talking about saving money. What I'm thinking about, how about saving lives? He goes, well, if it saves us money, that's how it works. Anyway, that's sort of the short of it all, okay?
Yeah. Just on Winifred, over in America, how's it being taken? You're a little bit further ahead than us. How's it going down over there? Are you having the same problems now that Charles faced in the early years, or is it a little bit better?
Oh, it's much easier, especially in the last few years. I mean, this has really accelerated insofar as people have more access to this kind of language. It's budding. Young people are more open and introduced at an early age to this. So there's the foundational change. And it's, when I grew up, none of this was accessible to me locally. I had to go out west. I had to go to Boulder, Colorado, where all the weird people were, to find what I needed. and then thankfully I kept going west, and I ran into Charles, or Charles found me somehow. But at any rate, the people that came during that time are the foundation layers, those that set the foundation, the indigo children, for what's happening today. And what's happening today is an acceleration toward an awakening, but the awakening is also the acceptance of what was. And what was more in the field of your light body, having the knowledge and knowing, and being able to inherently tap into that, or being sensitive enough to feel, see, hear, experience on a level that brings you into acceptance of whatever can be to your benefit. Animals know this. They go out and they inherently eat grass if they need to, or they chew on something specifically. We were programmed so heavily for many years that now we're coming out of that darkness, and we're moving obviously into the light. We're setting up for this new golden age coming. The foundation is accelerating literally week by week. This isn't a leap anymore for me to talk people through what I'm doing. They're already coming to the door saying, I need help. I think you can help me. That's a different conversation entirely than when I began. And it was, can you help me? I don't know if I believe it, but I'll give it a try. Now it's, please help me.
Yeah, and one of the questions that's been asked, and it's coming back to sort of near the end of this, Charles, is how can we learn about this modality, as Jean Green said there. And obviously there's a lot of people comment on YouTube that you can't see here. And it's really, we're creating a bit of a debate. And somebody's mentioned insurance. Will insurance pay for the modalities? You could say that's been answered by Charles, but I know in the UK that's not happening. But they do pay for some Reiki treatments and some massage with holistic viewpoints. Some insurance companies do pay, Angela, because I know that you've had clients that have claimed it off their insurance, or some of the organisations that support the workforce give them vouchers to come to certain registered organisations, usually through the official Reiki, let's call it the Reflexologist Association, people in official associations. And hopefully if we grow the organisation over here, Winifred, we can get to that point where hopefully we'll be recognised by insurance companies as well.
I think that it's all coming. I just really believe that we're about to have a tipping point of goodness, despite, so much tension in the world. I believe we're about to kind of move into that next phase of looking into the support universally, globally, of what has always been there, technically. We sort of take for granted this modern world, but we lost the things our grandmothers and great-grandmothers and great-great-great ancestral grandmothers knew. And it was quite simple. So quite a bit of our problem already comes from our lifestyle and the things that we apply today, like all of our technology. It's an imbalance to our system and our field. But as we also equally become aware of the light, naturally we gravitate more toward what is of the light. And things like insurance and all that, either it will become universal for folks, or there'll be so much healing available to people that it won't be an issue anymore. I think there's a solution coming, in other words, because people don't generally come to me, or rather, I don't have a lot of issue around the insurance thing. People come and they know that they're paying for this and they value it very much. And I see to it that they take it and they use it and they learn, and I give people homework. They have a to-do list of things. So they're incorporated in a process that is proactive on their behalf. And one day, I believe that we'll not only have the quote unquote insurance we need, but we'll have more than that in this world that's coming. I think we'll see a turning point that puts value to this, as Charles was saying.
Yeah. I think getting on to the kind of the education side, Charles, and the length of time, and because it's not just something that you'll be a medical intuitive overnight, it's something that you have to work on. And I think, Charles, you could explain a little bit the process of becoming a medical intuitive and what we're bringing to Scotland anyway.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'd say it's a process, meaning I think in the sense, first of all, you have to have an interest, because I think that's important. So it's like setting the intention that you have an interest to do it. And then, at least in the way that I've done it before, when I've taught it in the past, I usually evaluate the person to find out whether or not I think they're going to be a fit for the program, to be honest with you. Because why should I waste my time and why should I waste yours? If it's not a fit, it's not going to work. But I think there's a lot of capable, highly skilled individuals out there that already begin to have the tools, like I saw in Winifred and others, that in a sense could become medical intuitives with the right type of training and learning the right skills to go into it. In other words, some of it you may already have, but it's sharpening those skills to a point to where you can work at a level of where you're comfortable and you're accurate. And that's what's important in that sense. And there's a lot of good tools to do that. And I'll point that out, saying that in a sense, as I reach over to here, here's one of the books I've used in the past. So I'll just real quickly, you can probably see that, but it's one of the books I've used. And it talks about medical intuition. And there's another book, I didn't bring it with me, and it's a medical intuitive handbook. It tells you all about the history of medical intuition up into the recent times. And so I think there's a lot of this that's out there that tells you about the past, but builds upon what we have now for the future. There's a lot of very empathic people out there. I like to use that word, empathic people out there that already have a skill set. And it's a matter of fine-tuning that skill set and learning a few other skills with it that can bring you to the point where you could become a professional medical intuitive. It is a process. You'd have to be dedicated. It's not overnight. It does take a period of time. Most people that I've taught over the years, it can take 6 months to a year. The reason I say that, because everybody learns at a different level. I've had people that have taken it that have been already in the healthcare field, like nurses and such as that already have a big background in this, or have a lot of holistic background. They learn it in 6 months. I've had people that come into it that didn't know hardly anything. And within a year, they're at a point where through the testing and the exams they've taken, they're eligible to be a professional medical intuitive and to go out there and help people assess their life, assess their health, and put them on the track to wellness.
I think it's amazing. And I think it's I'm drawn to it because it is very professional, and having the chance with yourself, Winifred, and both of you have got a lot to offer over here, and hopefully we can get you over here and give some talks as well, Winifred. But I think is by having this online, and there's a lot of ask questions, can we learn this online as well? And I think some of it we could, and they could come over to a conference or something to be assessed, because what Charles has told me is some of the skills we've already got will be kind of, you'll be fast-tracked some of it, if you know what I mean. And what would you say about that, Winifred? How do you see it in the future over here or around the world?
Well, like I said, it's kind of exponentially happening. So the souls that are geared toward this are awakening. It's like they're being called forth right now. And they're being called forth to kind of take their right place in that, just like I was as a kid. I never set out to be a medical intuitive, I promise you. And I never set out to a title. I just did it. I just did healing. And I inherently am fascinated into the physics behind the healing. So those that are drawn to their passions will be, somebody's drawn to Reiki, or they're drawn to massage, or they're drawn to acupuncture or something. Most of those people have a bit of medical intuitive bent to them just by their nature of assessing on a regular basis what's happening in a biofield. And I think that it will become the norm in the future, that this will be the baseline, because from there, everything else can be done. And I see people coming on quickly now, especially the young ones, but there are a lot of other people that have been waiting for this time to come in history. And here we are. And you're championing it. And Charles is great at championing this. He's amazing. And he brings forth and marries together these things. He's so, so good at that. And he's, a tremendous healer in his own right. And he has a gift for gathering people in the right timing. It's like his life purpose. I say it again, and I'm teasing in a way, but I'm not, because he really, really does that. It's a light field. We are family coming back to work for the greater good of humanity at this point. And I stand in that strongly. We know we've come, and those that know will know that they need to be in the training. They will know this is for them. It's not a kind of, I'll stick my toe in and see. It's a calling. It's something you lean into. It develops for you. And it's not something you have to twist someone's arm into, especially the young ones. They're almost geared toward it now. It'll become second nature in a way. Wouldn't it be neat that when I grew up and I was desperately looking for something, though I didn't know what it was, if I could have gone to school for this, if I could have learned this as a kid instead of had to learn backwards what I knew and prove it to the world, gosh, I could have been a whole bunch of things way out ahead of time. The world wasn't ready for that then, but we are now. So we can take those young ones and say, hey, we've got this. We're ready. And those of us that are 20, 25 years into this, we've got you. We can help usher you forward for a better world. And won't that be a neat world for them and their children?
Thanks for that. It's so true. It's great to hear that, because I think some of us, and even in this room, you've got, a very alpha male like myself, who's a big trade union guy, catering manager offshore. We've got spray painters here. We've got people from different backgrounds, and we're all awakened into healing. And I think, it's gravitating what you're saying. And a lot of us, when somebody said to myself that I'd be doing this sort of work 20 years ago, I was saying, you're crazy. But I think we awaken to it and we see the benefit of it. When you've had a treatment, whether it's a massage or it's holistic, Reiki or whatever, you do start asking the questions, what is that? And then there's a lot of people now asking the question, what is that? And the spiritual side's kicking in as well. And I think there is an awakening going around the world, where we're going to fifth dimension or whatever. And then we do go, and I say to people, do your own research. And I think that's what Charles has sort of said to yourself when he says, you're a medical intuitive, Derek. And I'm going, what? I think we've all got an intuition medically, and we can self-heal. And I think it's been shut off from us for a very long time. Without getting too political here, but you've kind of sparked us all here. And I think, Charles, with you coming over here, it's took the connection over. And the way we've all met is unbelievable and quick, and how we've got the centre. And even some of the people that are here tonight who've just met, some in the last month, some a bit longer, and we're all gravitating towards it. And I know there's only a few people watching just now, but I know this will be downloaded and this will be watched, because everybody's asking questions now. There has to be something better. But to me, it's already been there thousands of years. We've just forgotten a lot of this knowledge.
Can I just say something, Derek? That once you become a professional medical intuitive, once you're working in the field with people like this, it's not something you walk into work and you think you're going to do. It's something that you are. You live it, you breathe it, you walk it. It's every moment of my life. It doesn't ever stop. It doesn't ever go away. It's not something, it's not hard necessarily to navigate that, but it is really what is. So, there's a good litmus for folks looking for, how do I know someone's really legitimate? Well, that's where we come in with the associations like the Global Association of Medical Intuitives and Charles Association and all that. We are kind of filtering for you with ethics the people that are real and the people that can be trusted and worked with, because it's not that you would worry about trust so much as, like he's talking about, how accurate can someone be is how well you can be served. And that accuracy comes from discipline and a lot of years of discipline. That's where we need to be valued, like you said, Derek, more than what people have in the past. This isn't a hobby. This is no different in my world, because I do surgeries and other things. It's no different than being a neurosurgeon. And I've put in those hours and days and years and worked 7 days a week, even when I thought I couldn't stand up anymore. I'm assisting in remote surgeries. I'm assisting in other things. It is like 24/7 for master healers. And again, I say master healers are different than just medical intuitives. Medical intuition is assessing. Healing is a whole nother thing, but usually we mix them together if you're doing it a lot.
I think one thing I've noticed as well is, because everyone's kind of waking up, we were talking about this today, Charles, is sometimes the healers are needing healed. And we're very often given. And because there's been a bit of a crisis around the world, where it started with COVID and all what's going on around the world, the movie we're watching, you could say. And it's also important, we've got to come back to the self and the grounding to look after ourselves as well.
Like I said, I'll be over soon.
Over for a break, lovely Scotland. So Charles, on your organisation, which is slightly different to Winifred's, but it's much the same, and your organisation is
the International Association of Medical Intuitives. But I think at some point in time, it may become one organization because of the direction we seem to be going. I guess we're going to find out about that. But I've been a member of a group before Winifred's organization was created, and it's called the International Association of Medical Intuitives. I was one of the founding members at the time, and we've come together in such a way to put together ethical principles and tools to utilize to create a method and a formula to train individuals to become professional medical intuitives. So I know it's possible because of all the people I've worked with. And the most interesting thing is, we did a survey a couple of years ago, the International Association did. It surveyed all its members, and out of all the members that it had internationally, 87% of the people were Reiki masters. It was interesting that many of the association were also Reiki masters. So that was their first foray, or one of the things that brought him in to the aspect of wanting to know more because of what they used within their Reiki. They realized they were able to use it and eventually become more of a medical intuitive. So I see that there's a lot of healers entering this. The association, its director of events coordination, because we put on a number of events throughout the years, conferences and such. The events coordinator, who's a medical intuitive, but is also a chiropractor. So we're seeing people within our realm. The chairman of the organization is a naturopath, but does medical intuition as part of that work. So what we're finding is there's a number of people out there that are professionals in certain area, but they see the value in medical intuition as an evaluation tool to help people find their wellness, to help people find their weaknesses and their strengths.
I think it's just totally fascinating, amazing. Does anyone in the audience here have any questions? Lulu, questions? How do you feel just listen to that? Because this is your first audience, guys. How do you feel?
Fascinating.
Yeah, you can see they're all engrossed. Winifred here, you can see they're all engrossed. And I'll just put them on the big screen here. And it is amazing. I mean, they're totally engrossed in what we're all saying and the wide range. And I think it's good to have that knowledge. Although it's only a few of us here, there's a wider interest around and speaking to people since we've met Charles. And I think it's going to grow. And it's such a privilege to have you joining us here tonight, Winifred. And what would you say to people who are considering doing it either in the States or here or worldwide to get into training? What would you say to them to encourage them?
Well, the first thing that people need to understand is that if you're looking to be a medical intuitive, it's different than just being a healer. So here in the United States, there's been this overlapping understanding that medical intuition is healing. And that's not true. Medical intuition is the bioscan of the biofield. And how accurate that is then leads to the, let's say, approach to healing. How would one approach that healing? It is not the healing. It is just the analysis. And so learning medical intuition is a skill set that requires the ability to focus. It requires a quiet mind. So stepping into a class setting, whether it's with Charles or with me or anything that you find, there's a number of different organizations that also focus on that training. But you will find that in the training, you're going to dial in, you're going to dial down, you're going to learn to be quieter in your lifestyle. You will be more settled. And I believe, and will be teaching in an upcoming academy, that your knowledge of the physical human body needs to be as accurate as a doctor. You need to have that physiology, biology knowledge. It's not okay just to say, oh, I see this. You can be far and away better if you have that knowledge, and you can also work with doctors better if you have that knowledge. So that kind of training is not as emphasized, but is something I will be emphasizing as I walk forward and begin teaching in that academy. So I think that people will just have to look for what feels right to them. They'll be drawn to the avenue that they're leaning toward. And I'm not being ambiguous. It's truly a calling to the right organization or teacher. And that will lead to more study, but the study will be dictated by being able to hear and see and intuit. So you have to develop your intuitive skill if you don't have that developed already. And you have to be certain of it. So that leads me to a final comment. I have unshakable faith, 1000%. I have been through all kinds of things in my lifetime. And I have helped people under really hard circumstances, like life or death, really. And it required my focus to either hold them in their body and or assist like that turnaround in their body And I have witness to that with a heart surgeon that I worked with, and it was his child that was dying. And he called me in because he had experienced my work remotely with his own patient that was about to die and that survived the night and was able to have the surgery successfully. So he then asked me for help with his child. When I did that, he was present in the ICU, and I was guided to go to the child's head. And this is where the God light, the beautiful, true spiritual light comes in and does the work through you. And a blast of light came in through me and went through the child. And I said to him, I said, please hold your child's feet. And I was medically intuiting what was going on in the biofield of the body of the child in real time as this was happening, and adjusting the flow of that energy accordingly so it could go to the places it needed to go to. And that was very technical. It was so powerful, he began to shake at the base of the feet of the child. He said, I'm trembling. I said, just ground it, let it go through you. By the time we were done, he was exhausted. The next day, the child was completely better and well from that point forward. No brain damage, no hearing loss, no nothing.
It's amazing. We're all clapping here. It's like, yeah, it's just amazing to hear that story. And you know, I'm sure, Charles, you've got many stories yourself or examples of how this has helped some of your clients, Charles. If you sort of would add in, bringing it back to sort of the real in the now situations.
Yes, I certainly probably have plenty of stories, which at some point I'll tell folks. But to keep it to the point here, what I find so fascinating now is having still such a passion for this. I realize how much help I can give to people because I allow them, as I see it, and that's a strange word to say allow, but I allow them to take greater charge of their life and their health so that they can lead a more productive life and get rid of all the things that are not serving their highest good. And that includes the illnesses and things that are within them that are not helping them live a rich and wonderful life.
I think that's not just the physical, it's the mental and all that as well.
Of course it is, yes.
And it's something that when we did a tuning fork session today teaching, and Charles said to me, like, you're going on that table straight away. It's like, because you're needing healing, Derek. And that's him using his intuition. And he was totally spot on because I've had a chest infection and to do into that. It just shows you the training and the knowledge that intuitively he knew before I said anything. So I suppose it's an example of when sometimes I have that ability, you can tell, but I don't know enough about the body, and that's what I want to learn. But it's that example, it's backing up your kind of story there, or the truth. It's that intuition, we've all got it within. And it's just learning a bit more and picking up a bit more. And I think this is the tool or an academy, a way forward for all healers, or even just people who are interested just helping others.
I think you have to realize that all things are possible. And as Charles is saying, the totality of that's just one example. And that was an extreme example because it was an extreme case. It was really life and death. It needed to be turned around in that moment. But overall, we have more time. And what he was talking about before is so vitally important that you get in front of it. That's where we really have great value. We can get ahead of that. And it doesn't come to that as often, that we can take an entire lifestyle and help guide it to a place of more mature energy management and moving into a space where you don't need as much corrective work. And, you know, you all over there are establishing this very clearly in what you're doing, and it's going to take off. I mean, people are going to be able to come in from all over the place and really take advantage of that. It's a lifestyle change, and it's really assisting people to rethink how they operate and interface with their world.
Yeah, I just think it's totally fascinating, and it really excites me to have met the two of you now. And I think everybody here would love to thank you, Winifred, for joining us tonight. and obviously Charles as well for giving the talk. And we'll kind of close off in a wee minute, and we'll just get Charles to say a bit more to our live audience, what he feels in the way forward, and how he's feeling now he's met us, and now we're on live. Charles, how are you feeling about all this?
Wow, I guess in the sense that I didn't realize that Scotland was so alive with so many incredible people. I feel so blessed to be here and to meet so many wonderful healers and things that are here that seem to be coming out of the woodworks as I get more integrated into this place. And I'm certainly looking forward to meeting more and more people as time goes on, because I think there's great opportunity that is here. And I think I'm fortunate to be here because I'm also seeing this as a place that in some senses, in my opinion, is in some ways ahead of the curve. There are people here who are very individually oriented, very determined, and very self-empowered. And I think those are some of the things that we need to make our society a better place. I think a lot of the people that I'm meeting here are leaders of the future. And I'm so looking forward to that, because I think we need this to make the world a better place overall. And I think as we begin to embrace things like medical intuition and using medical intuitive evaluations, will help people prevent problems manifesting in the physical form. And once we can begin to prevent things, we're all going to live a better, more healthier life. And we're all going to have a better opportunity to build a better, healthier, and hopefully peaceful world, which is what I hope to see.
I think he deserves a clap for that. Yeah.
And I want to thank people like Winifred and some of the other professional medical intuitives I've worked with, because they've always been so helpful. I don't know any medical intuitives that I've done work with over the years and that I've met through the associations and things I've done that haven't been willing to share some of their stories like Winifred has with us tonight, and tell me what's going on and how they've approached things. Even though we might approach things just slightly differently, all of us that I've met so far in this field are here because we feel it's our passion. We're here because we want to help people live a better, more productive and healthy life.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. And just over you, Winifred, for the last few words.
Oh, how do you follow that? That's true. And you know, you couldn't be in better hands over there than with Charles. He is truly a champion of this field, and he has for all of his life championed this kind of work. So, you know, I am really excited for all of you to experience it. And if you're interested in doing medical intuition training, to jump into whatever class that they're going to be offering, because you'll have a ball. It'll be really great fun. And you're among really sweet souls. And that really makes all the difference, especially today where the polarization is so high. You know, it's turning toward your intention. What do you want in the world? And lean toward the things that bring the light, including those that you work with. Bring the light and bring your own light, and much more light will come to both of you. So thank you for having me, and it's nice to meet you all. And Charles, my hat's always off to you. I'm grateful eternally. And nice to be here, Derek. Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll say bye to everyone. Winifred, you stay on and we'll have a quick chat before we sign off properly here. But everyone that's out there, thanks for lovely comments. And I see a lot. I apologise to the ones I couldn't see. But thanks everybody for tuning in tonight, and share, I'm saying. So cheerio.